To Space Sailing. I'm Gabriel, and today we've got the launch of Starlink. Let's just get set up here. We're waiting for SpaceX to go live, but in the meantime, I'm gonna get the banner up. So yeah, that's here. Okay, so let's see. Okay, if you're just joining us, we're getting ready for SpaceX's Falcon 9 launch, carrying 60 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Okay, here we go. Now that we have that up, we are waiting on SpaceX to start their stream so that we can watch it. So got their stream up right over here so that we can switch to this. But in the meantime, I just have me. So once again, we have stopped doing. Okay, we've stopped doing our we've stopped doing our podcasts. We did podcasts, so if you didn't know about that, sorry, but 1 second, I'm just gonna mute myself. Okay, just wanted to make sure our audio is working, and it is. So, yeah, we still don't have SpaceX's stream up. Let's see what they're saying at Mission Control. Nothing. Okay. So we are about T minus 16 minutes and 50 seconds away from launch, and yeah, I'm actually going to. Sorry, I'm going. Actually, never mind. Thinking about doing something, although I changed my mind. Okay. So, once again, if you're just joining us, we are getting ready for SpaceX's Starlink launch carrying 60 Starlink satellites. They currently don't have their stream up yet, but normally they started 10 to 15 minutes before launch, and we're about 16 minutes or 15 minutes away from launch. So, yeah. So feel free to write your questions in the chat. Sorry, I'm a little bit less prepared this time. Oh, okay. SpaceX is live now. So yeah. Let's get that right. Okay, that should be. Okay. So we are getting ready for SpaceX's launch of their 60 Starlink satellites. Looks like we might have froze. Yeah, so we're experiencing some problems with what we are using. Oh, there we go. Back. Oh, wait, no. Okay, is that better? Okay, yeah, I'm good. Okay, sorry about that. You guys could still hear me, but you couldn't. Everything else was frozen. So, once again, if you're just joining us, this is SpaceX's Starlink launch, or Falcon 9 launch carrying 60 Starlink satellites, and we so about 14 minutes to launch. Let's see. So yeah, okay. Let me just post this. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. And I'll happily answer them. And I've got a question. Which one do you like better? Do you like this, that, or that? Answer that in the chat if you want. And so on. Okay. Anyway, we'll just continue with what I had it at before. Okay, let's scroll back here. Definitely muted. I'll unmute that when this is over. Okay. Okay.
Yield Falcon 9 as it awaits its 2:59 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. My name is Yomezo, a Dragon propulsion engineer, joining you from our headquarters in Hawthorne, California. You're watching a live webcast for the 13th Starlink launch this year and 29th to date. Starlink is a satellite internet constellation designed and manufactured by SpaceX that can provide high-speed, low-latency internet to people living in remote and rural locations around the globe. If you've been following Starlink's progress, you'll know that our Starlink beta service is now available in the United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and several locations around Europe. We're excited to announce that service is now also available in Belgium and the Netherlands. To date, over 500,000 people have placed an order or put down a deposit for Starlink, and with every launch, we get closer to connecting more people across the world. As we launch more satellites, install more ground stations, and continue to improve our networking software, our data speed, latency, and uptime will improve dramatically. In addition to being able to provide our customers with better service, with every Starlink launch, we get closer to our goal of near global coverage of the populated world. As always, head over to starlink.com to learn more. We are now at T-minus 11.5 minutes, and all systems are still go for an on-time liftoff at 2:59 p.m. Eastern Time. With that, let's take a closer look at the rocket that you see on your screen.
Hello, I'm Shiva Bharadwaj, a space operations engineer. Now the Falcon 9 on your screen, that's our two-stage liquid-fueled rocket, has been loading propellants since T-minus 35 minutes. Falcon 9 stands 229 feet tall, that's slightly taller than a 21-story building, and much different from our recent Starlink missions, which launched and landed boosters for an 8th, 9th, and even a record-breaking 10th time. The booster that we're flying today is fairly new, having only supported the Sentinel-6A mission last year. Now, the bottom two-thirds of the vehicle is the first stage. You can see some of the soot left over from its previous flight. The first stage accelerates the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere into space with the help of 9 Merlin engines that it has at its base. As I mentioned, we will be attempting to recover this first stage for the second time on our drone ship named Just Read the Instructions. On top of the first stage, we have our black carbon fiber inner stage, and on top of that is Falcon 9's second stage, which has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. Once the first and second stages separate, about 2.5 minutes into the mission, the Merlin vacuum engine will ignite and carry our 60 Starlink satellites into an elliptical orbit around planet Earth. Now you'll also notice this large nose cone at the top of the rocket. That's called a fairing. That's where the stack of Starlink satellites is safely enclosed. The fairing's job is to protect those satellites from aerothermal heating, aerodynamic loads, and contamination during the ascent phase. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we'll jettison those fairing halves as the second stage continues on its journey to orbit. The fairing halves protecting our Starlink payload have quite a history. This will be the first fifth flight for one of the halves. Before today's launch, that half supported 4 previous Starlink missions going back to 2019. The other fairing half will be flying for the third time, previously having supported the Transporter 1 and Starlink 21 missions. Now, today's flight also marks the 40th time SpaceX has reflown fairing halves since November 2019. And of course, we're going to be attempting to recover them today using our recovery vessels named Go Searcher and Go Navigator. Beautiful day at the Cape. Weather is forecast 90% favorable for liftoff, and the recovery conditions look quite good for the booster. So with that, the vehicle, satellites, weather, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just a few minutes from now. Now, for some reason, we do not launch today. We do have a backup opportunity available tomorrow at 2:38 p.m. Eastern Time.
Now that you know a little about the structure of Falcon 9 and its engines, the propellant, which is a substance used to create the energy to make the rocket go. Falcon 9 is a bipropellant vehicle, meaning it uses 2 propellants, a fuel and an oxidizer. An oxidizer is a type of chemical which a fuel requires to burn. Most burning on Earth uses oxygen, which is prevalent in the atmosphere. However, in space, there's no atmosphere to provide oxygen or other oxidizers, so rockets need to carry them up on their own. For Falcon 9, our fuel is a refined form of kerosene known as RP1, and our oxidizer is a super chilled liquid oxygen called LOX. The liquid oxygen is chilled well below its boiling point, so that it becomes what we call densified, which means there is a much greater amount of mass per volume, and we can load more of it into the booster. In addition to its propellants, Falcon 9 also needs an ignition source in order to go. And for that, we use the chemical TTEB, or triethyl aluminum and triethyl borane. When it is fully fueled, Falcon 9 holds just over 1 million pounds of propellant that the vehicle will burn through in less than 3 minutes after liftoff. Once our Merlin engines begin to burn RP1 kerosene and liquid oxygen, you'll see the rocket throwing the exhaust out of the engine bells in one direction while pushing the rocket in the other. This is a great example of Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That 1 million pound weight of propellant is turned into all the flames that you see in flight coming out of the engines, creating the almost 2 million pounds of force exerted on the rocket to lift it up.
Now, in order to get to space, the rocket has to do more than just go up. It also has to go sideways really, really fast. At liftoff, gravity is pulling straight down on the rocket. But as we ascend, we'll start to tilt the engines, which is technically referred to as gimbaling. That turns the rocket horizontally. We're still going up, but we're also now heading horizontally away from the launch pad. And that maneuver is referred to as a gravity turn. The rocket typically needs to get to about 7.5 kilometers per second,
Okay.
or about
Sorry about that.
17,500
wanted
miles
to
an hour horizontally in order to
work
avoid
on
being
this.
pulled back down to Earth and to get into orbit.
Okay, so sorry about that. I just want to mute it. I just got the timer set up there. It's about it's a second behind, but it's not the end of the world. Guess there's a little animation about orbit stuff. So
It's going so fast that it never hits the ground. This arc that constantly misses the Earth is what we call an orbit. So when we get to liftoff today, keep an eye out on the orientation of Falcon 9. You'll see it initially start to go straight up until about T+10 seconds, at which point we'll start to shift orientation so Falcon 9 can start picking up sideways velocity.
yep.
Before
So
we get to that, why don't we check in on the status of the vehicle for today's launch?
We are currently just under T-minus 5 minutes and 30 seconds from liftoff, and Falcon 9 is now moving into the final stages of the countdown. We are currently waiting for the transporter erector, or TE, to retract, and that's that truss structure right next to the vehicle. First, the TE clamps will open,
here,
and the
That's like
transporter erector
right-
will then begin to retract away from the rocket slightly, and at T0, hydraulics will pull the TE farther away from Falcon 9 as it lifts off.
yep, it'll go.
Now, the TE provides liquids, gases, electrical connections to the second stage, as well as air conditioning to the payload fairing.
Thanks, pressing for strong back retract.
Okay, they're getting ready for the strong backward track.
Now those clamp arms that you can see just below the fairing should start to open soon, and strong back retraction should happen in just a few seconds here.
Strong back lever started.
It started.
You heard strong back has started to retract.
There you go. There it is retracting. You can see it.
You can see those clamp arms opening around the Falcon's second stage there.
Everything is looking good. You just saw the strong back retract. And just to make sure that nothing hits when it launches, this whole thing,
you can see
will
that strong
go back.
TE is started to move away from the
that will
vehicle
go back.
there.
There you go. You see it moving very slightly, but
Now, the first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Superchilled liquid oxygen is our propellant oxidizer, and that is what you see creating those white clouds that you can see around Falcon 9 there. And that's because the warm, humid ambient air causes the liquid oxygen to turn into a gas around the booster. Now, first stage should finish prop loading at T-minus 3 minutes, just under 10 seconds here. And the second stage will finish prop loading about a minute after that at T-minus 2 minutes.
about under
Puck up
2 minutes,
lead.
3 minutes.
At T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9
Launch load, close that.
Falcon 9 will be in
Okay,
startup, and you
loading
heard
the
that call
LOX
out for stage
for
1
liquid
LOX
oxygen.
load complete.
Probably don't want to eat.
And when Falcon 9 gets in startup at T-minus 60 seconds, this means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken control of the launch countdown.
Yep. So
And
that'll be
just
it.
inside of T-minus 2 seconds, we light the Merlin 1D engines using that T-Trav ignition source we talked about, and we're set to lift off. The
So-
Starlink payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is still looking favorable, and the range is green for launch. So here at just over T-minus 2 minutes, let's listen in on the terminal countdown.
So I'm basically going to repeat what you just said. At T-minus 1 minute, they're going to turn on the flight computers inside the vehicle. That will start the countdown for the internal clock inside the vehicle. And basically, the vehicle has full control over
Stage 2,
itself.
launch load, close out.
Yep. So that she also
We
said
have
that would
just
happen.
finished loading our second stage. Our Falcon 9 is now fully loaded with over 1 million pounds of kerosene, RP1, and liquid oxygen.
You probably don't want to eat the LOX because it's really liquid
Again,
oxygen.
that white cloud coming from the booster there towards the middle is normal and expected. That is venting from the TE LOX line.
Yeah. So, so they vent because
Again,
it's
at T-minus 1 minute,
Wait, I'm gonna mute.
Falcon 9 will go into startup.
okay. So the all the clouds coming out is like she said, it's normal. That's actually the because it's so cold. When it mixes with the warm air of Florida, it evaporates, and there you can see it's in startup, which means that the flight computers have been turned on and taking full control of the vehicle. And you'll see right over here, I set up a launch countdown, and at liftoff, it will go up that little rocket over there, which I think is really cool. So let's listen in and watch because I'll be in just about.
Falcon 9, Starlink LDs go for launch.
You heard that call out for go for launch. All systems are go.
30 seconds.
Let's listen in to the terminal count and watch as Falcon 9 takes our Starlink satellites to orbit.
Minus 20 seconds.
15 seconds.
Stage 1, pressure to flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff.
Okay, there goes the Falcon 9. And the brakes I go down in Florida. See, like you said, after T plus 10 seconds, it already starts to pitch downrange, which is really cool. So it's basically like, okay, let's go up and go. It doesn't tilt that much. It goes like this, and then it goes like that, and then eventually it will go almost horizontal. And there you can see it rolling. It turns around to get the gyroscope facing the right way. That happens to all rockets.
What a beautiful day for a rocket launch here. As you can see, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying our stack of 60 Starlink satellites to orbit. Moments ago, we throttled the engines down in preparation for max Q, or the maximum aerodynamic pressure that the rocket will see.
Supersonic.
There you go. You saw
The vehicle
the
is
sonic boom.
supersonic, and we should be passing through max Q here in just a few seconds.
The max Q is maximum.
Vehicles reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
The maximum
We just
aerodynamic
passed
pressure.
through max Q, and in about a minute, we will have 3 events happening back to back.
MECO,
That's main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, and second
second-
engine start 1. So
Okay.
first, main engine cutoff. That is where all 9 Merlin 1D engines that you can see burning right now will shut off to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation.
There you can see
And this
the
is where the first stage separates from the second stage, with the first stage making its way back to land on our drone ship. Just read the instructions, while second stage continues on its journey to its third event, which is second engine startup 1. Now this is where the 1 MVAC engine on our second stage lights up and propels that second stage along with our Starlink satellites to orbit. What a beautiful view of those 9 M1D engines burning there on beautiful clear day.
Oopsies.
And we're coming up on main engine cutoff shortly here in just about 10 seconds.
So sorry, we just lost feed there.
MECO.
Okay, they just had MECO. We're in stage separation. Sorry about.
You can see in that beautiful footage that we did just have MECO, stage separation, and
Okay, sorry about that. Let me just get this back up. Oh, sorry. Incorrect. Let's deal with this. What's going on? Sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. Here we go. Back.
halves for future flights. We will be attempting to recover them again with the help of our recovery vessels, Go Searcher and Go Navigator.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's just get that back. Okay. So we did just lose connection there, but we are back. T plus 4 minutes ish.
Stage 2 continuing towards its first orbit on the right-hand side of your screen. Left-hand side of your screen, you can see Falcon 9's first stage reorienting itself for its next 2 activities. That'll be 2 burns to come back safely to Earth. First of those being Bermuda entry burn. That's where we'll ignite 3 of the Merlin 1D engines to help slow down the first stage as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. The second burn will happen closer to the drone ship. That's the landing burn. That's where we'll ignite just a single center Merlin engine. That'll bring the first stage's velocity rapidly down to 0 for a soft touchdown. On the right-hand side of your screen, second stage continuing to burn nominally, acceleration right down the middle. You can see the glow of the nozzle there.
If you're just joining us, sorry, we
And if
just
you are just catching up with us, we did have
Stage 2 on
Okay.
nominal trajectory.
we did have a successful launch of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station.
Right.
And first stage on the left-hand side of your screen is headed back to our drone ship named Just Read the Instructions, stationed out in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage, heading on the right-hand side of your screen, is headed to its first orbit. As a reminder, today's mission does mark the second flight for this booster. If you happen to catch fairing separation earlier, this will be the first fifth flight for one of those fairing halves and the third flight for the other half. Reusability is critical to what we do here at SpaceX. It allows us to refly the most expensive parts of the rocket, and that drives down the cost. And you can see the grid fins extended on the left-hand side of your screen. Every so often, you'll see puffs of white gas. That's attitude control coming from the first stage to help reorient us to get the 9 Merlins on Falcon 9 pointed towards the Earth. Those Merlin engines are optimized for thrust at sea level. They help Falcon 9 achieve about 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent and descent.
there you can see
Meanwhile, the Merlin vacuum is optimized for space. That's
there
why
you
it
can
has
see how
that larger
fast it's
nozzle.
going. They're going to ignite the
Coming up here
engines
is
and
entry burn. Keep an eye out on
I'll
the
tell you
left-hand side of your screen.
Stage 1 entry burn startup. Stage 1 FTS is safe.
This burn expected to last about 20 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Okay.
Successful shutdown of those 3 Merlin engines. Now, if you followed along our missions in the past, you'll know that soot
Stage
on
2
the first
continues on
stage
nominal trajectory.
is an indication that the rocket has flown before. That's because we use rocket-grade kerosene, or RP1, as our fuel in Falcon 9. That's a carbon-based propellant. As we burn it, it generates soot. So with the engines down, as we're coming in through the Earth's atmosphere, the soot from the plume comes back up on the first stage and deposits it along the surface of the vehicle. Now, if we didn't do that entry burn, the first stage would come in very quickly in the atmosphere, and the aerodynamic forces could cause it to rip apart. So that's why we do that entry burn. And we did temporarily lose the video feed, but we'll hopefully, there we go. Beautiful view. Now,
Make
at
us
this
swap.
point, since we're in the Earth's atmosphere, those grid fins will take over orientation and trajectory back towards the drone ship. But coming up, stage 1 landing burn will begin. Shortly after landing burn ends,
Landing burn startup.
the second stage's engine
Okay, landing burn start. We should
will
have landing.
shut down. We should be in our expected orbit there. So keep an eye out, see if we can get a video feedback for the first stage.
There it is.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Okay, landing leg deploy. There, it's almost down. And touchdown.
Fantastic. Right down the middle.
Wow.
That's our 85th successful recovery. 118th successful launch.
And I know that looks tiny, but I have to show you how big the human's about the size of my mouse right over there. That's huge. It's like landing a 15,
Navigation officer.
20.
We did hear the call
floor.
for SECO. Navigation officer will be checking
Expected loss of signal.
the
Okay.
parameters. Make sure we are in our intended orbit.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Fantastic news. So from here, we do have the coast phase followed up by the second burn of our second stage engine. These additional burns allow us to modify the orbits of the payload more efficiently than if we were to launch directly into our final orbit. That's just one of those quirks of orbital mechanics. And today, our second stage will coast for 35 minutes until we reach apogee, which is the highest point of the orbit. Views here on your screen of the fairing and then the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. So once we reach the highest point of the orbit,
Okay. So I'm gonna end the stream here. Thank you guys for watching. We are not gonna be able to do we're not going to be able to do the the SAS2. But thank you for watching. Thank you all for watching. And I'll give you guys 30 seconds, and then we'll end the stream. So thank you for watching. An awesome launch by the Falcon 9. An awesome recovery by the Falcon 9. And then a nice second stage performance. So if you want to continue watching, you can head over to SpaceX's stream if you want, or other people who are going to be doing it. But I'm going to end here because I have to go. But thank you all for watching. 30 seconds.